because we had reached elite status in one arena, we think that we're just going to be elite in the next, which we will, because we've got soft skills like discipline, hard work, stuff that you can't coach, but it takes time. And we have to give ourselves grace and not think that, oh man, I can't do it just because I'm not good at it yet.
You're listening to the Kristof Lewis Podcast, a podcast where I have conversations with inspirational people. My name is Chris, but my family calls me Kristof. My goal is to have as many conversations as possible with people who have forged their own path by pursuing their dreams, making them a reality, all the while emitting positivity and sharing this knowledge with others. I seek these people out and share this information with you, proving to the world that you can do what makes you happy and do what you want for a living while being a good human being. We'll talk about careers, but we'll also cover any story that inspires. Let's do this while helping each other. Thanks for listening. I'm happy you're here. What's up, my friends? Welcome to the Kristof Lewis Podcast, Create Your Career. This is conversation number 162, episode number 280. Thank you so much for being here. I'm always full of gratitude for having you here for yet another episode. I never take it for granted. Today's episode was incredible from start to finish. It was it's pretty emotional and very informative both at the same time. I say informative because there's a lot of great things here that you can apply to your own life. That's one of the things we talk about, just not listening to these episodes, but actually taking information, not just being inspired, but being transformed. I love this. So my guest today is Darryll Stinson, and he played college ball, and then he had a life-changing injury. He couldn't play anymore and went through some dark times and attempted suicide. And luckily, he is a survivor. Obviously, he is here with us today, but not to take it lightly because his story is incredible, and he does share it with us today. So I love being able to talk about that and how he is helping other people after having experienced this. When I ask the question, why do you help people, is one of the most impactful answers that I have heard. And then, like I said, he gives us actionable steps, the things we can actually apply to our lives. So remember, you can find this episode and all other episodes, the conversations, the contemplations on kristoflewis.com/podcast, on any of your favorite podcasting apps. Head over to YouTube, subscribe, that would be massively helpful. And also sharing this podcast with a friend. And head over to Apple Podcasts or iTunes and rate 5 stars and tell me what you like. And if you don't like something, I'd actually love to hear too. I'm totally open to suggestions and opinions. Just don't be a jerk. So without further ado, welcome to the Kristof Lewis Podcast, Create Your Career.
Hey man, I'm so excited. Thank you for everybody tuning in. This is going to be a blast.
That's what I love to hear, like right out the gates, like right off the blocks, just coming with the heat. I really appreciate that because one of the things I always say in the beginning is just I am so excited to be here every single time. And I was just telling you, I've cut the frequency back just a little bit in the podcasting, and I've just found myself really missing these conversations, and I look forward to them even more so. It means a lot to have you on here, and I know we're going to get into it a little bit, but you deal a lot with athlete transition, and I latched onto that, man, because I saw that in of myself, of my military transition and all the other people I talk to. And quite frankly, to answer one of your questions offline, like kind of who am I trying to help is not only people that are transitioning out of the military, but just people going from career to career or job to job, and articulating to them or highlighting to them through my guests that it's possible. You know, it is possible, and there's plenty of organizations out there like yourself, and I can't wait to hear more about it, that are helping people in all these ways. You're helping athletes, there's places out there that are helping military people, and civ to civ, so things like that. So before we get into the rest of the episode, could you please give us like a quick intro about yourself?
Yes, I'm Darryll Stinson. I'm a thought leader in athletic transition, former Division I athlete from CMU, Fire Up Chips, got to throw that out there. Hip hop artist, pastor, but I always tell people that more importantly, I'm a suicide survivor. That's important because it defines my appreciation of life. I just, on the front end, want to tell people that, your life matters, and your legacy matters. And so, I am very gifted at helping misfits turn their pain into purpose and profit. Our organization, Second Chance Athletes, which I'm the founder and CEO of, helps athletes transition out of sports. We do it through coaching, providing resources. We've launched a legacy league for anybody who's looking to build something beyond them that impacts generations to come. And just really trying to be a resource for people. I want to be known as the most resourceful person on the planet.
I love that, and I love how you said impact generations to come. I mean, there's so much wealth of knowledge there, but I love like not just setting your mind on what can I change now, even though that's very important and the small changes are really important and they add up and they make big impact. But why not say, like, let's make a generational impact? Because that is just, I think I've had a lot of these conversations and I haven't heard somebody say, let's make a generational impact, something that's going to last for our children's children's and our children's children's children, and on and on and on. And then even more so, I appreciate you sharing that you're a suicide survivor and saying things like your life matters, because I think a lot of times, and especially as we're recording this in May of 2020, like there's some crazy times going on, and there's a lot of isolation, and there's a lot of not even just physical isolation, but maybe thought isolation, where you're not even able to talk to other people. So I think when somebody experiences what you've experienced and you survived and you've thrived through that, people are going to listen to you. People are going to listen to somebody that's experienced what they've experienced. Are you finding that you're able to connect more and have more of an impact because of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually was doing an interview the other day and we were talking about this, and I said, I got to have the right heart about it, because sometimes like you ever had an argument like with somebody and you were right, but you couldn't prove it right then, and then later on you found out, like, see, I was right. You want to throw it in their face
all the time.
And I feel like that's happened with a ton of people. So when I was doing marketing consulting, dude, I couldn't sell fast enough. Like, it was like flying off the shelves. Everybody wants to increase their visibility and increase their revenue and their reach. But when I started doing athletic transition and mental health coaching, it was almost like people were like, oh, I don't know if I want to play for counseling, give me the business tips and the strategies and stuff like that. I'm like, this is the business tips and the strategy. Like, there's a leader's skills and there's a leader's core. A leader's core is far more important than the leader's skills. But they were like, I'll take the ad campaign. And so what happened, so I was getting all that prior to the pandemic. We still had clients and stuff, but it was always like convincing them into what matters more, right? And then now pandemic hit, and it's flipped. Now they're like, hey, that mental health coaching thing, can you talk about that? I'm like, absolutely. Absolutely, man. So I have seen a shift because here's the thing. Now people who have never really noticed it or slowed down enough are now experiencing a lot of mental health issues. And so now it evens the playing field out a little bit. So it's not just, the people with mental illness. It's not just, the former military veterans and the athletes. It's and the divorcees. Now it's all of us are struggling in our minds.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. And I love it because it's getting rid of a lot of stigmas around mental health and mental illness. And it's enabling us to talk about it more.
Yeah, it's nice. And I know we're physically quarantined, but I have really noticed, and I swear by this, that there has been more of a connection, right? I mean, we have Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Skype, all these things that are out there, and we're able to leverage to be able to communicate. And I know I've had more masterminds, I've had more just mentor calls, mentee calls, all these things going on there. So I don't know about you, but I would say, like, yeah, we are physically isolated, but at least make the effort to connect with other people. And there are other people out there. There's so many platforms to be able to connect. And I don't even just mean these streaming devices, but I mean all of the social media platforms, and leverage those tools for good, for something good.
Yeah.
So I
was thinking about that. I was like, why is that? Because we know that social distancing doesn't mean social disconnection.
Sure.
And here's what I figure why people are connecting a little bit more is because if you think about it, what gets in the way of face-to-face communication? Technology. You're on your phone, you're watching TV, you're not paying attention to me. And then now we're communicating through that. So it's like, I can't like FaceTime you and text at the same time. It requires me to focus. And I think that's one of the reasons why we feel more connected during this time, because we're actually paying attention and being mindful.
Yeah.
By the way, that's a great way to live a more mentally healthy life, is be more mindful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so
funny. Yeah, I'm with you, man.
Yeah, no. And I love that example. And it's just funny how things unfold. And I understand it's tough. It's really tough for some people, but I would just encourage people to use these things that we're talking about. So I kind of want to shift back into more of I want to talk about more of your transition. Because one of the things that I found really interesting about your story is that you found purpose while you were in recovery. So you not only had, I feel as if there's multiple transitions going on here. There's multiple transitions going from athlete right, to what into what you're doing now, and then there's this transition throughout this recovery. So I don't know if we want to tackle them separately or, in totality, but I would love to learn or hear more about your mindset, speaking of mindset, through these times, through these challenging times. Maybe they were challenging, maybe they're not. I don't want to put words in your mouth and of how you perceive them, but can you walk us through, just pick one. Maybe we have time to talk about both, of course, but I'd love to hear more about that.
Oh man. All right, let's open up this can of worms.
Let's do it.
So I'll cover transition in general,
Okay.
right? So because that's the common thread between my addiction, which was addiction to opioids, that I got subscribed to from playing sports and having a back injury.
Wow.
There was me being an athlete, transitioning from athlete to professional.
Sure.
There was also, which I don't talk about as much, but the transition from being a drug dealer, which I did to cover my medical expenses, to being a person of integrity and a man of faith. And so you're talking a complete identity overhaul here.
Yeah, that's a lot, man. That's a lot.
But
what a good example are you of that it is possible.
Yeah, it is possible. I think one of the most challenging things about that transition is embracing the unknown. We, as an athlete, and this, as a veteran, that you develop a elite skill set. I mean, I'm looking at your wall right now. You've got so many guns. I'm scared. Hey, I'm talking to the right guy, man. People look at my size and they say, "Hey, you can be my bodyguard." I'm looking at their guns. I'm like, "That's my bodyguard."
I didn't think you'd notice. I mean, I guess you got to be watching on YouTube,
but with all of those, you can probably take it off the wall, assemble it, shoot it in an extremely fast time, because you have repetitively practiced that skill.
Sure.
I can still, and I'm older now, I can still line up. Like the other day, I was working with some, not the other day, like a couple months ago, was at a high school, and there's some athletes, some high school kids. And I'm like, let's go. And instantly, like, all that practice came into play. Here's the problem. When you're transitioning from one realm to the next, from one career to the next, you have no clue what you're doing. You don't know I didn't know what it was like to be a professional. I could run fast, jump high. I'm not trying to send a follow-up email. You see what I'm saying? I haven't practiced like that. I haven't put in those, what they say, 3,000 hours or whatever that research is.
Yeah. So
I think embracing the unknown, recognizing that, like, I literally have started at the bottom of a new industry. I'm starting over in a relationship, whatever it is. Like, I'm not experienced at this, and giving yourself grace to learn, to fail, remembering what it was like to stumble, to ride a bike. Nobody just hops on a bike and start riding it. But because we had reached elite status in one arena, we think that we're just going to be elite in the next, which we will, because we've got soft skills like discipline, hard work, stuff that you can't coach, but it takes time. And we have to give ourselves grace and not think that, oh man, I can't do it just because I'm not good at it yet. Yeah. And so, and that was huge for me, really embracing the unknown. The other thing is, and you know this, man, like finding people who are successful in this new area, like in this new arena, like who has transitioned well. Like, so for me, I had to find business mentors. I had to find professional mentors. I had to find writing coaches, like people who were experts at the things I was trying to do. Like, I was a terrible speaker. Yeah. Terrible. I'm not saying that to be humble. I was god awful. I have video to prove it. And I had to be a student of the game. And so, just learning, man, and surrounding yourself by people who already have what you want, and just sitting at their feet, and then getting those hours in, just like you did in the area that you were more proficient at. And that really helped me transition.
Yeah. I continuously being patient with yourself. And I love how you said, give yourself grace. I think a lot of times, like, I would consider myself patient, but a lot of times with myself, I just don't give myself enough credit or give myself enough slack. And I know it's good to be on top of yourself and keep yourself honest and have integrity with your intentions and keep pressing forward. However, sometimes I think, the world can be hard on us, but sometimes we're harder on ourselves than the
Yeah.
world, And it's so good, and it's so nice for me able to hear that. Like, you will be the expert. And I love, these are strategic words, in my opinion. You will, it's not like, oh, you might be if you try it. And, you have to have this patience and give yourself grace and understand that you will. And what I'm getting from this is that you must believe. You must believe that you can achieve, and you have to have these people around you. And I love talking about mentorship as well. And of course, you have people around you that, like you said, oh, okay, transition is hard. No matter what I'm doing, no matter if you're an athlete to a business person, or no matter you're military to a business person, or whatever it is, no matter where you're going, who's done that? And like going back to social media again, let's leverage LinkedIn, let's leverage Facebook, let's leverage all of these different things. Find these people. It's so easy, guys. If you're listening and you go to LinkedIn and you just whatever you want to do, like if you need athlete transition, you could find somebody like Darryll here, literally just by typing in those two keywords within LinkedIn search. And if you're having trouble with whatever you're doing, or if you have hesitation or apprehension to make the leap, or at least start to take that first step forward, it can be solved leveraging technology. And then you'll find somebody like Darryll that has done it and is helping other people. And which leads me into my next point of, I love having guests, and I only have guests on here that help other people. I love highlighting people that help other people because I just think it's the gift that keeps on giving. So it sounds like an easy question. It sounds obvious, but Darryll, why do you help people? Because me asking the question, when you answer, your answer will promote the act throughout everyone that's listening. Why should I help people? Why do I help people? Why do you help people?
I help people because I'm extremely grateful to be alive. When I survived my suicide attempts, I told God, make my life worth living. You did not save me from suicide so that I can be average and just live a cozy, comfortable life and not make an impact or a difference. Clearly, I'm alive to be helpful to others, to be inspiring to others.
Man.
And I really, and that's where the true heart, and I don't get to say this often, so thanks for giving me this little transition here. But people always ask about the name Second Chance Athletes. They're like, is it former like athletes who went to prison? I'm like, no. It actually came because I felt like I got a second chance at life. And I did all the wrong stuff. And I actually tried to end it, and I felt like, like a near-death experience, like it was. And now I have life. Like, so the life that I was living is completely, like, I gave that away. Like, I gave that up. I tried to end that, and I got it back as a gift. So why not give my life to the world? Like, and so one of the things that I'm extremely passionate about, man, is helping people bring more of themselves to the world. I always ask people on a scale of 0 to 100, how much of you is the world getting? I'm talking about quirky you, weird idea you, financial you, like everything. Like I want my life to be an offering.
Wow.
So that's why I give, man.
Wow. Man, thank you. That was awesome. That's powerful. That's why I love asking that question. Sometimes even in full transparency to you and everybody listening, like I'm like, should I ask this question whenever the chance promotes or gives itself? And I'm always happy that I asked the question, because everybody's answer is so different and so powerful and so unique to themselves, and just being full of gratitude for what you've experienced, and then understanding, at least to yourself, that you don't want to live that cozy, comfortable life and be in serving of other people. I love it. You said live the 0 to 100. How much am I giving to the world? And it further coincides with a lot of the things that I try to talk about. Is one, going into this, I'd love to hear more about actual second chance athletes, but I think people just really sell themselves short, and I want to know through this, because a lot of people have been where you are, and I think a lot of people sell themselves short. So how can we change the culture that people are actually capable of more in their lives, not just in the military or not just post-athlete? How can we change that culture and help people understand that they are capable of more, or do they have to do it themselves? What do you think?
I think it takes, I think everybody's path is different.
Mm-hmm.
I think intuitively we tend to know. I always say this. I said this on a show that I did earlier today. They talked about why do I think people settle, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that people settle because I think settling is a product of numbing. Here's what I mean.
Okay.
We're working a 9 to 5, or we're having our own business, right? And we're doing great things. We're helping people. Like, our life doesn't suck. Like, we're doing good things, but we know there's more. We know there's more, and instead of exploring it, we numb, and we go, I'm just gonna ignore that.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna ignore that,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna keep pressing forward and making money and doing good stuff, and then that numbing leads to settling. And so I think we, as being self-aware leaders, can go, let me not numb myself to my own passions and dreams and level of greatness. Let me not settle just because other people know that I'm great. Let me actually push myself, stretch myself. I think we can control that. But I do believe, and it's because it's been my experience, that sometimes I always say this, like, it's hard to read the label when you're inside the bottle.
Mm.
And I say, for me, one of the greatest people that changed my life is my pastor. I remember him saying to me, and it's going to sound so simple, but for me at this time, it was so powerful. He said, I see a leader in you. The reason why that was so meant so much to me is because at the time I had just came off suicide.
Mm.
All I thought, I knew people that saw the athlete in me, and that's all I saw in me. And it was, but it wasn't just what he said; it was how he said it. I knew he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself.
Wow.
It was his belief in me that helped me believe in myself. And I said, what is this more inside me? What does he see that I don't see? And I think that sometimes, like, you need people in your life who see what you don't see, who's outside of you and goes, man, you know what? Dude, I see a legacy leader. I see a groundbreaking leader. I see an innovator. I see something that you don't see, because we are the most familiar with ourselves. What's natural to us, we take for granted.
Mm.
My ability to connect with people, I'm like, everybody knows how to connect with people. I read John Maxwell's book, Winning with People.
Yeah.
And in it, I remember reading that book, and we were going through it with our staff, and all the like type A administrators on the team was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And I was like, this is what I do every day. Like, this is not a good thing. Until I tried to teach other people how to be more relational. And then I was like, well, in the book, Winning with People, it was natural for me. So I didn't think there was anything extraordinary about it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a revelation.
I wonder what we think is, I wonder if there's a group of people out there who thinks that they're normal and they're average just because they're natural at something. And truly, they have extraordinary gifts.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
But they become too more familiar with some. So we need both, man. We need to be self-reflective as leaders, and we need other people who can see in us what we can't see in ourselves.
That's so good, and I love it, because I love when it's not just a black and white answer. I love it's life is dynamic by definition. There's so many things going on, and to be able to have that outside perspective is just imperative. It's crucial to be able to do that, because you're right. We do take it for granted, the things that we do so well. I've been on so many calls with people to where they're, like a carpenter, for example. He was a builder, and he was really, really good at it, and he didn't think anybody would know, because he's like, oh, it's just easy. You do this, this, and this. But as he's describing what he's doing, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and that's incredibly difficult, So even whatever you do, you take it for granted, and you just don't. Oh, and you discount yourself, right? Automatically. Oh, there's no way that somebody would want to know that. But it's so cool to hear that somebody stepped in your life, and they said that to you, and especially after what you experienced, right? Especially after one of the most pivotal, maybe the most pivotal. I don't want to put words in your mouth again. Time in your life, and now somebody's coming in and saying something so incredible to where you can change your life. They see something else in me, and then you start asking the questions of yourself. So I love that somebody's able to come in there and interject that into your life and really open it up. So I think that's a phenomenal way to answer that question. So now I'd love to go into more. I'd love to go into more of second chance athletes and learn more about exactly what you're doing there. Why did you choose? Like we talked about, why are you helping people? So I mean, why did you take the steps to create a whole organization? Like make a company and help people in that manner.
So I was speaking about my surviving suicide and all this, and I was just blowing it up, speaking to athletic teams and everywhere I could speak, and I noticed people were leaving inspired, but they weren't leaving transformed. People were coming up to me after my speaking engagement saying, "Oh my gosh, man, I struggled mentally too. Oh man, I was with depression. I've got story where I'm the first person who people told that they were, having mental battles. Oh, I was a former athlete too. I was a military veteran, man. This is me. This is my uncle and all this stuff." And then I'm like, "Oh man, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that with me. So glad it could be inspiring to you. See you later." And I'm like, "Oh no. I can inspire from stage, but I can only transform through process." And thus second chance athletes. And second chance athletes is the vehicle through which we can create the transformation that I talk through inspiration. And what does that look like? Well, it takes the content that we share, and it helps people to apply it to their lives. Our main deal is we've got a 5-step signature framework that helped me go from suicide to success. So when I got to this place in life that, I'm knocking it out the park, with influencers, TEDx speaker and all this stuff, and I go like, man, how did I go from suicidal, not thinking I had purpose outside of sports, to knowing my purpose, being full and having a life that's so fulfilled that I would not trade it to be a pro athlete, which is a big, strong statement because a lot of people still trade that, And I went, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. Here, I'll share the steps with you. Here they are. Step number 1, accept. There's the 5 stages of grief. The last stage is accept. In this acceptance stage, we teach you how to skip from step 1, denial, to 5, which is acceptance. Accept. 2, believe. You talked about it. It's hard to build what you don't believe in.
Yes.
How do I actually develop the mindset where I'm not like trying it out, but I actually believe it's reality? That's believe. Step number 3, which is where most people start in transition, is discover. Discover. What's my purpose? And let me just throw this in there, okay? I believe your purpose should be as unique as your fingerprint. I hate general purpose statements, okay? And this is just my personal belief, so nobody get offended. But I don't like, because for me, get this, I survived suicide. For me, what's your passion? Wasn't good enough for me. My passion was sports. I couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
My purpose is to help other people discover their purpose. Okay, how many people do that? I think we should be able to look at your purpose statement and go, that's Darryll. That's Jane. And so discover your purpose. We help people through a series of self-discovery questionnaires and exercises and drills to help them find their unique purpose. Step 4, pursue. All right, everybody's favorite. How do I go after it? SMART goals, all that stuff, strategies, business plans, boom. Go after it. Build your dreams, career, resume, portfolio, LinkedIn, optimizing, all that stuff. Pursue it, right? The good stuff, right? Finally, And then the 5th step, which is persistence. And the only thing I say about this, because every time I talk to athletes about persistence, they're like, oh, check, got it. And I'm like, okay, but it's a difference between being physically tough and mentally tough. And then also, we do teach unique strategies. This is not just, you got this, hang in there. That's not what this is, man. This is, here's what I tell people. I'll give you a tip. Go back to the hardest season of your life and ask yourself this question. This is one of the things we teach in our program. How in the world did I make it through? That is your key to make it through every hard transition. Here's what happens. When we go through hard seasons, we're in survival mode. We're just trying to make it. We're just trying to get through it. And then we get through it, and then we're like, yes, made it. And then it's like, but I don't know how. So then guess what happens next time we get into some hard survival mode? When we can learn from what helped us be successful and overcome and apply that to this new arena.
Mm-hmm.
So we help people figure out what that is. And here's the thing, just like your purpose, it's unique to you. Like there might be some transferable principles, but something that helps me might not help you and vice versa. And so it's about finding your unique code. And so we'll build out an Evernote list or a file or notes
Mm-hmm.
list that helps you to persist. So that's the 5 steps.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the core of what we do through speaking and coaching and things like that. And then, of course, we have the Legacy League, which just brings industry experts to speak into the lives of people to help them build their legacy.
Dang, that's really cool. I love, we share a lot of similarity in that of, I actually get caught all the time saying on the podcast, like, hey, just so you know, like, especially because I have another segment where it's just me talking and trying to help people through that way and offer advice through my own experiences. And that's what it is. It's my own life and my own experiences. So I always say, you know, it may not work for you, but it is my hope that you take at least one thing from here and you're able to apply it to your life through all the other conversations I have with my guests and all the other conversations that I have, you know, everything, right? And coupled with what you said, first was inspired but not transformed. It's one of the things I always wrap up my solo podcast with is saying, you know, you can listen to this podcast, you can listen to all my guests, you can read all these books that we talk about on here, but if you don't apply it, what does it really mean? You may be entertained. Are you not entertained? You may be inspired. That's great. Yeah. I'm so happy that I can inspire you. That, wow, talk about being full of gratitude. I'm so happy that my guests can motivate you and inspire you as well. But what does it really mean when you hang up and you take your earbuds out and you go on and you continue through your life and you've made no change? What are you really trying to do? So I love that you've come up with a strategy. I love that you identify that we are unique like a fingerprint and that your purpose is unique like a fingerprint too. And I'm going to tell you right now, Darryll, I am struggling with exactly that right now, and that is a huge, if not the reason why I'm pulling back on my own podcast right now, so I can further help identify that within myself. And you know what, even more so, in congruence with what you were saying earlier, I had somebody step into my life and tell me that because I couldn't see it myself. I couldn't see that I didn't have my unique fingerprint of identifying my purpose. So I almost, you know, it's really powerful for us to end in this manner, to hear how applicable it is to even my own life. And it just coincides with exactly what I'm dealing with in my life right now, man.
Dude, that's why you're awesome. That's why you're a leader. That's why you're successful, because that's a level of vulnerability that not many people will share. We're good at talking about like 6 year ago stuff, you know, like, I learned this 6 years ago, but the stuff that's going on right now, dude, man, I still applaud you.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
It's two tough things though, man. Thing number one is, first of all, like, we packaged our purpose discovery step for this pandemic crisis and released it at $97. So at secondchanceathletes.com/purpose, you can go like grab that and dig through it, because you know this in podcasting that there's power in asking the right questions. And sometimes when we're trying to figure out like what it is, like we need a series of questions to ask ourselves. And so through my 5 years of research and being a geek, I've collected what are, 15 to 20 really great questions when you talk about discovering your purpose. So for $97, it's a steal. The other thing I would say is I'll give you a tip. And I was going to say this to you. I'm so glad you brought that up because part of it is exploration, right? You said a phrase and I almost like stopped you. I was like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. you said, I always ask myself, should I ask this question? I don't know. That right there, my friend, that's purpose. That right there. Let me give you a tip. Here's a tip. You ready? Because every time you ask yourself that, the answer is probably yes, you should. Should I write that book? Yeah. Should I write that song? Yeah. It's good, ain't it? It's practical because we ask ourselves that all the time. Yeah. Because like the world or energy, whatever you want to call it, tries to talk you out of the thing you're supposed to do. And a lot of times it's we're afraid of rejection or whatever. And I'm saying just push past that barrier. Sure. Because the more you try out that stuff, the closer you get to purpose. Should I? Yeah, you should. Yeah. You should. Do it. Ask the question. Launch the book. Make the pivot. Right? Not for everybody else. So I get it. You got to niche down. But do you? Do you want to? Or is that just business advice? And I get it. Like I tell a lot of athletes. Like, they only speak to that. Put yourself as a transition expert. And I'm like, okay. But I help misfits turn their pain into purpose. You don't got to be an athlete to be a misfit.
No,
Should I? Yeah, I should.
Yeah, I should. I mean, I'm gonna take a lot away from this podcast, but I'm just gonna should I? Yeah, I probably should. Well, listen, man.
The next thing you know, you're gonna be like president.
Yeah. Oh, right. I know, right? Thank you, Darryll. I just first and foremost. No, man, I appreciate it. So before we get out of here, please just tell everybody where they can find you.
Hey, I don't do this all the time. Hey, if you're serious, shoot me an email. Okay. Hit me up at Darryll, Darryll at secondchanceathletes.com. And let's talk, man. Like, whatever way I can help. Like, whatever. If you need more support, whatever. If you need recommendations, whatever. Like, if I can help you, just hit me up. Shoot me an email.
Yeah, that's easy. So, you all will be able to find that in the show notes at Darryll at secondchanceathletes.com. And you'll be able to find some other stuff in there as well in the show notes. Darryll, again, man, thank you. This is super powerful. One of my favorite things to be able to do at the end of a podcast is just to be able to see how everything ties together. And it's really cool that we nailed it all over here, just in through sharing your own story, and then a little bit about myself, and just seeing how what you were telling or what you were saying was just like, oh man, this is what I'm going through right now, man. So I appreciate you opening up and telling about some vulnerable times in your life as well, and how you're working through it and how you're helping people with that. So thank you so much, and have a great rest of your night.
Oh, thanks, man.